Okay, hey there. So today I am here with Nursel Arslan from Your Soul Guide, and I am super excited to have her here at Holistic World Travel so that she can talk about Family Constellation and all the wonderful work that she does. So firstly, it'd be great to know a little bit more about you and how you came into your line of work and what Family Constellation is all about.
Thank you. Hi everyone. So yes, how did I come to this work? I came to this work as a client myself. So 2006, a friend of mine invited me to a Family Constellation session, and I had no idea what to expect whatsoever. And she couldn't describe it to me either, so I was basically thrown into the cold water and thought, oh my god, what is this? And I thought, oh, bunch of hippies basically doing this work. And for some reason I wanted to go back and did my own constellation, even though at that time I thought that was pretty crazy. And I fell in love with it and decided to study family constellation, systemic family therapy actually, because my constellations changed my life and my worldview so much, and I wanted everyone to do a family constellation at that time. How you are very enthusiastic of something because you discovered something that's really helpful. Yes. That's how I started 12 years ago.
Okay, beautiful. And maybe I've actually had the pleasure of experiencing one of your sessions, so I know how powerful Family Constellation is, and it'd just be great to know a little bit more about what it entails for people that have never experienced Family Constellation. What would you say about it?
So there are two things. First of all, you can do a family constellation in a group setting, and I offer also family constellation in one-on-one settings. And what happens is that when you come to a family constellation setting, you have a group of people, and in a one-on-one setting you have figures, and you choose from these people or these figures a representative for yourself and a representative for your issue. And what happens is basically you take an internal image of your emotional state and put it outside of yourself so you can watch it from the outside. That's what happens. And the wonderful thing in both methods, both in the group and in the one-on-one setting, is that you can see how these elements are basically moving between each other. What the movements are is, how do you relate to your issue, or how do you relate to a certain person that you have an issue with, or how do you relate to a certain decision that you need to make in your life, and do you feel close? Do you feel quite distanced? Do you wanna look at it, or do you wanna just rather not see it? And how is everything moving in between? And we start setting more and more representatives in for certain aspects or emotions or people, and then we look how all these people or elements are moving.
And that's what's beautiful, because that's what builds up the constellation for the issue holder, the person that is speaking on the day, and there's some quite powerful results that come from it, doesn't it? Because it creates a shift on really a soul level. That's what I noticed when I left the Family Constellation. I knew that something had happened, and it had been interesting to see this play out and see where people kind of stood in my life constellation. But then going away from it and feeling things that have changed over the following days, it's quite a profound... I mean, how do you explain that? Because there's so much happening. It's not just on a psychological level, is it?
No, it's not. So the idea is, the way we explain it as facilitators is that we basically tap into the knowing field. You could, nowadays they would call it, I think, the quantum field, and every information is saved in there. And what we do is we tap into this knowing field and we receive energies, or we, like a radio receiver, basically you tap into a certain channel. And what we do in that constellation setting is that we can go back to a certain situation that happened for you, which might have been painful, and we can revisit that situation where you might still be stuck, and we can work towards bringing back in the flow, you know. We can't change in reality that event going back in time, but what we can do is we can change how you perceive that reality. We can change how you deal with it going forward. So I think that's what's happening to people, or that's what happened to me as a client, that I couldn't change what I was not happy with, but I could change how I felt about it. You know, I could revisit certain things that happened in my life and make new choices, or speak out things that I was not able to express at that time.
And does that come from kind of reconstituting the constellation and putting relationships back in their right place for you anyway, if not for the people that you've brought into your constellation, for example?
Yes. So we don't bring the people in that we might have an issue with, but we can choose representatives for the people that we have an issue with. And then, you know, anyone has experienced this event where you're standing in front of someone and you can't express how you feel, and you can revisit that, for example, in the family constellation, and express how you feel. And this is basically not about expressing emotions just one-sided. You also get feedback, you know, you get like insights that you hadn't had, to see also where the other person might come from. So the understanding is that we bring love back into flow, and that we create constellation that puts you into peace.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. And that's how I felt after the constellation, was a sense of peace, even though I hadn't physically kind of reconciled those relationships on a soul level. Internally, I felt a lot better about them, and that enabled me to move forward. So yeah, that makes sense. And for anyone who hasn't tried it, it's a beautiful experience that will really help you in some ways to rebuild that constellation and feel better about some of the dynamics that we may have in our lives. And I know that within your soul constellation you also incorporate some other modalities. I know you also practice kinesiology that you bring in, and I know you have some other things, so please tell us about them.
So yes, I also practice kinesiology, and it is a great tool if we want to bypass basically the conscious mind. So in situations where you don't have a memory about what happened, but you can't explain why you feel in a certain way, we can basically, with kinesiology, we can basically bypass the conscious mind and get right to the feeling. And how this works is that we do muscle testing. We say that the body never lies, and we test with the arms, you know, what the body says. So the questions we ask are either a yes or a no. And we test out certain feelings and certain feeling patterns to get to the root of the feeling. And that helps the client to actually what happens then is that the client suddenly remembers a feeling or an event that is related to that feeling. And kinesiology is a great way to de-stress basically certain traumata or other heavy emotions in the body as well. And I'm not a shamanic practitioner, but I also work at point with energy healing where it's needed. But my main thing is really family constellation and kinesiology.
Okay.
Those are the two modules that I have at heart.
And I know that with soul constellation, there's quite a big psychological aspect to it as well.
Yes.
So I know that you are registered with, please tell us.
With the British Association for Counselling and Psychotherapy.
Yes, so Nursel is very well qualified to be able to help with all of these issues. And so is there anything else you can tell us about? I know that you are online and visible and people can find your services. What would you say to anyone who is interested in kinesiology or soul constellation and would like to know more?
Well, come on my website, read about it. We have quite a few informations on there. And also you can email me to set up a consultation. I offer 15-minute free consultations, and you can ask me anything you want about this, or we can see if any of the two modalities would help you.
Beautiful. And so yes, so if people want to do it in a group, that is possible, but if people also want to come to you on a one-to-one basis, and they can either come and see you in person or remotely, is that correct?
They can see me both in person and also online.
Yeah,
that's
which
correct,
is fantastic. So if you can't get to see Nursel in person, you can still have a session, which is wonderful. Okay, lovely. It's lovely to find out about your work or to be able to share it with other people, because the reason I wanted to interview you is because I know how powerful the work is, and I think more people should know about family constellation and soul constellation, because I think if you ever want to deal with family issues, you can spend years going to therapy and doing all of these things, but this is a beautiful way to open up a space. So thank you for doing the work that you do, and thank you for sharing it with us today.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. And what you said, the last thing, I've done years and years of therapy till I discovered family constellation, and then with one constellation, one issue, many things changed.
Many things change, yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, we were talking about this before. It's funny that you can come together with a group of strangers to have this session of family constellation, and choosing a representative for yourself that ends up having actually very similar issues to what you have. You've chosen them totally at random, and even if you are not presenting an issue there on the day, that actually you do get benefit from being a representative, because somehow whatever you've been chosen for, is something that you're working on. It's strange how that works out in family constellation.
It is almost spooky how well that works. Yes.
Yeah. So that's why on a soul level it's a wonderful thing to do. So yes, again, thank you so much for joining us, and
thank you for having me.
Thank you. Okay, thanks for coming, and I hope you enjoyed finding out about family constellation. And I will be posting all of Nursel's information in the comments below, so that you can find her page and get in contact with her if you would like to know more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.